Good morning, and welcome back to the Fairy Tale Unit. Today's story is The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid videos can be found in that book, and they are clips. Let me find them. They're after the Cinderella clips, which you can still watch, even though Cinderella was not included. Yes, 11 to 14. They're all from Disney. I'm sorry, but not sorry. Now remember, the things you're thinking of with this particular unit. What are the things that fairy tale could be telling you about its society? How does it react to the supernatural and why? How does it treat men? How does it treat women? How is it different depending on where it's written? The same. How are the movie clips, poems, and articles related to the story? This is actually one story. It's from Denmark. I think this is the only one that I included in this packet. I could be wrong on that. If I didn't, surprise me with your analysis. So here's the story of The Little Mermaid. Very similar to the Hans Christian Andersen story, because why improve perfection? Unless you're Disney. Once upon a time, there's a king who lives under the sea. He has 12 daughters, and every year when one of his daughters turns 16, she can float up to the surface and look at the human world. And most of them decide they don't really like it. But the youngest daughter is fascinated by the world of humans, and she's fascinated for two reasons. First of all, she likes their stuff. Second of all, she is fascinated by the idea that humans have souls. When mermaids die, they turn into sea foam and float away. They live for a very, very long time and then turn into foam and float. But humans have souls, and the Little Mermaid is fascinated by this. And she's like, well, how do mermaids get souls? And her grandmother is very wise, and her grandmother says, well, the way you get souls, dear, is you have to find a human to love you, and then you get part of their soul without actually giving up their soul. It's a weird, complicated soul-sharing thing. And the mermaid's like, okay, so I just need to find a human to love me. And her grandmother's like, technically yes, but sea foam's better. We live for almost ever, and then we get to be sea foam. It's kind of delightful. And the mermaid's like, yeah, okay. So one day, she turns 16, she goes up to the surface, and she sees this ship almost wreck. And there's a boy on it, and she thinks he's very pretty. It's the first human she's ever seen, and she's like, he's cute, I like him. So he falls into the water when the ship is going down, and she saves him and brings him to a beach. But she can't let him know that she's there because she's a mermaid, and that's statute of secrecy. You can't tell people that mermaids exist. So she leaves him on the beach and makes sure that he's found. He's right by a nunnery, so this young nun, or nun in training, a postulate, comes out, saves him, brings him back to the nunnery, and she's like, he's going to think that she saved him, but it was me the whole time. But that's okay. She's like, I'm good. He's fine, but she's pretty blue about it, and she keeps thinking about him. And he lives kind of in a kingdom. Then she finds out he's the prince of a kingdom kind of near her. She's like, so she goes and she watches him in a kind of creepy way, but she's doing her best. And so she's just obsessed with this prince. And finally she's like, I can't stand this any longer. He might be my key to a soul. Plus he's very pretty. And I kind of want to get to know him. So she swims out to the sea witch. And the sea witch is like, well, you know that if a mermaid makes this choice to go on land to try to get a soul in a human, and the human says no, when he gets married, she dies and turns into foam immediately, right? And the mermaid's like, that seems like a risk worth taking. And the sea witch is like, okay, I mean, I can help you out and get you to the surface, but I have a couple conditions. I'm going to cut out your tongue, and also every time you walk, it'll be like you're stepping on needles. A bunch of needles. And the Little Mermaid goes, yeah, I can do it. I can do this. She's like, you got as much time as you need, but you can't talk, and walking hurts. And the mermaid's like, okay, I got this. So the sea witch grants her wish, and she washes up, and the prince finds her, and he's like, you're really pretty, but you don't talk. So this is kind of a problem for me, because I like conversations, which is weird in fairy tales. So she gets to know him, and she's basically treated like a prized pet. She's a beautiful dancer, but it hurts. But the prince likes to watch her dance, so she does it anyway. And she sleeps on a cushion outside his door. But they're really good friends, and they get along really well. And then one day, time's going by, and he says to her, you know, I would, if I were going to get married, I would marry you. Because the woman I want to marry is a nun, because she saved me from the shipwreck. The mermaid's like, I saved you, but she can't say anything, she's got no tongue. And so finally he's like, but I think I'm going to marry you. My parents want me to meet this princess from a neighboring kingdom, but I'm going to say no because I want to marry you. And she's like, yes, because she'll get her voice back, theoretically, when she marries the prince, and a soul. So they get on this boat and they're headed to meet the princess from the neighboring kingdom, and it turns out she's the nun in training. She wasn't actually a nun in training, she was just learning about education and healing. And the prince is like, it's you! So they're gonna get married, and the Little Mermaid feels her heart breaking. She won't get the prince, and she won't get a soul. And she's really bummed out, but she dances at the wedding. She knows it's her last night alive. And then her sisters pop up out of the ocean, and they're like, hey, we went to the Sea Witch, and we traded her our hair for this knife. If you stab this knife into the prince's heart, his blood will touch your toes, then your toes will turn back into fins, and you can come back home, and we'll be fine. Here. And the mermaid's like, okay. So she's got her knife, and she sneaks into the tent, and she sees the prince and his wife, and they're sleeping all cozy, and she gets her dagger, and she raises it over his heart, and then she's like, that's not really fair to kill him because of my choices. So she takes the knife, and she throws it over the deck, and dives into the ocean, and dissolves into foam. But then these spirit angel things pop up around her, and they're like, hello, we're the daughters of the air. And she's like, the what's of the what? Like, we're the daughters of the air. We are creatures without souls, but we fly around, and we can earn our souls. She's like, that was an option this whole time? And they're like, yes. What we do is we fly around. When a creature does something extraordinarily brave, who has no soul, like you just did, they have a chance to earn a soul. So we fly around and we watch, and whenever children are behaving, sharing with their siblings, listening to their teachers, we get time taken off of our sentence. Whenever a child is misbehaving, talking in class, or hitting their siblings, time is added to our sentence. And so the Little Mermaid joined the Sisters of the Air and flies around, and some say she is still flying around today, waiting for her soul. What a way to get kids to behave, right? Don't hit your sibling. You'll get the Little Mermaid cursed to fly around for more years. Yikes. So, that's the Little Mermaid. Also, the prince and his wife do miss her because they liked her. She was really sweet. So they were sad about that. But the Little Mermaid didn't actually like the prince, right? She just wanted a soul. He was just kind of the soul-adjacent thing, which is kind of sad, too. All right. Have a wonderful day. Wash your hands. Don't give up your voice for another person. All right. Cav out.